The forest was dark and wide, filled with tall silver trees and glowing vines. Strange sounds moved through the air, chirps, growls, and whispers that no human could fully understand. The place was alive, yet it felt dangerous. No human should walk here alone, but one man did. His name was Daniel. He was a traveler, a human who had come to this alien world for knowledge and trade. He carried only a small pack, a light on his belt, and a tool knife. His steps were careful, his eyes sharp. Daniel knew the stories. This land was full of traps, and not all of them were made by nature. Then it happened. A voice cut through the forest. It was not the cry of an animal. It was not the wind. It was something else, human. "Help, please!" The voice was small, high, and desperate. Daniel froze. His heart jumped in his chest. A child here? He looked around, his light sweeping across the silver leaves. The cry came again, closer this time. "My mom is hurt. My mom is trapped. Please, human." The word human echoed in his ears. Whoever this was, they already knew what he was. Daniel moved forward, his boots crunching on the strange glowing moss. He followed the voice, every step heavy with suspense. He kept his hand on the knife, ready for danger. At last he saw it. A small figure stood in the shadows. It was a child, but not a normal one. Her skin glowed faintly, pale blue like moonlight. Her eyes were wide and silver, filled with fear. She had thin lines across her face that shimmered like light underwater. When she saw Daniel, she ran to him. "Please, you are human, yes? My mom needs help. She is in a savage trap." Daniel bent down. "What's your name?" The girl's voice shook. "Lyra, please come quick. If we wait, she will die." Her words struck deep. Daniel did not ask more. He simply nodded and followed her. They moved fast through the forest. Lyra ran ahead, her small hands brushing glowing vines aside. The air grew colder, heavier. The sounds of the forest grew quiet, almost too quiet. Daniel felt watched, as if eyes followed him through the trees. Then he saw her. At the center of a broken clearing, a woman lay on the ground. She was tall, her skin glowing brighter than Lyra's, her body strong and marked with strange silver lines. Her hair spread around her like black fire. But her foot was caught in something terrible. It was a trap unlike anything Daniel had seen before. Shards of crystal curved around her ankle, digging deep. Thin energy ropes glowed red, pulling tight, cutting into her flesh. The ground around it hummed with strange power, as if the trap was alive. The woman's face was pale. Sweat ran down her skin. She looked powerful, but the trap was draining her strength. "My mom!" Lyra cried, dropping to her knees beside the woman. She tried to pull at the glowing ropes, but they burned her hands. She cried out in pain. The woman opened her eyes. They glowed a deep silver. She looked at Daniel, a human. Her voice was low, broken by pain. "I did not believe my daughter. But here you are." Daniel stepped closer, careful not to touch the trap. He studied it with sharp eyes. The crystals seemed alive, shifting slightly, reacting to movement. The ropes hummed, pulsing like a heartbeat. It was no simple snare. It was a weapon. Who made this? Daniel asked. The woman shook her head weakly. "Hunters. They set it for me. They want me broken, dead. They wait for me to fall." Lyra clutched her mother's arm, her voice trembling. "Please, human. Save her, please." Daniel's throat felt dry. This was not his fight. He could turn back, walk away, and no one would blame him. But the child's eyes? They were filled with so much fear, so much hope. He crouched, studying the trap again. The energy ropes hissed when his knife came close. The crystals tilted, ready to strike if touched wrong. One mistake and the trap might kill them all. He looked at the woman. "If I touch the wrong part, what happens?" Her silver eyes burned into his. "The trap will not only kill me. It will kill you and maybe my daughter too. It is made to punish the one who helps." Daniel's heart raced. It was madness to try. But could he leave? Could he walk away from the voice of a child crying for her mother? The forest gave no answer. Only silence. Then from the shadows a branch snapped. Daniel turned quickly. He saw nothing, but the sound was real. Someone else was here. Lyra gasped and pressed against her mother. The woman whispered, her voice like a warning wind. "They are watching." Daniel gripped his knife tighter. His choice was clear now. This was no accident. This was a test of courage, of trust. He could feel it, and somewhere in the dark, hidden eyes waited to see what the human would do. The clearing was silent except for the low hum of the savage trap. Red light pulsed around the alien woman's foot, glowing brighter with every second. It was as if the device was alive, feeding on her pain. The air around it vibrated, sharp and heavy, like invisible knives waiting to strike. Daniel crouched low, his knife still in hand. His breath came slow, steady, though his heart raced like thunder inside his chest. He had seen traps before, animal snares, human-made cages, but nothing like this. This was no tool for hunting food. This was a weapon made for one purpose: to capture, weaken, and humiliate. Lyra knelt beside her mother, tears shining on her glowing cheeks. She kept touching her mother's arm, as if holding on would keep her alive. Her small voice shook as she whispered, "Mom, please stay awake, please." The woman groaned, her face pale with pain. She looked at Daniel again, her silver eyes hard. "The trap is not only around my foot," she said slowly, her voice breaking. "It is also under the ground. Careless steps will wake its anger." Daniel pressed his lips tight. His eyes scanned the soil around the glowing crystals. At first it looked normal, covered in glowing moss and small silver stones. But then he saw it. Thin lines of red light buried under the dirt, weaving out from the trap like roots of fire. One wrong move, and the whole clearing might explode. He swallowed hard. "This isn't just to catch you. It's to kill anyone who tries to free you." The woman's lips twisted into a weak smile. "That is why no one comes. Not even my own people." Her words hung heavy. Daniel felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He could walk away. He could leave now and survive. But then he looked at Lyra. Her small hands were shaking. Her voice trembled as she begged, "Please, human. You're brave, aren't you? Please help her." The word brave stung. Brave, he wasn't sure, but in that moment he could not walk away. He took a deep breath and slid closer to the trap. The crystals twitched as if they sensed his movement. They tilted toward him, glowing sharper, brighter, hungry for his mistake. Daniel raised his knife. Slowly, he reached for the first rope of red energy. It pulsed like a living vein. The alien woman spoke quickly, warning him. "Do not cut it. Cutting it will make the trap strike. You must press the crystal at its base, gently." Daniel hesitated, his hand trembling. "Which one?" Her eyes flicked toward a crystal shard near her ankle, smaller than the rest, glowing faintly blue under the red light. "That one," she whispered. He nodded, sweat rolling down his temple. His hand moved slowly, carefully. The knife touched the crystal's base. The red ropes hissed, tightening around her foot. Lyra cried out, "Stop!" she screamed, but the woman shook her head, teeth clenched. "No, he must continue, or it will never release me." Daniel pushed harder. The crystal resisted, vibrating with strange force. He could feel it fighting him like it had a will of its own. His knife slipped slightly and the whole trap flashed red. A sharp crack split the air. The ground beneath him trembled. Daniel froze, holding his breath. For one terrible second, he thought the trap would explode, but then the glow faded back to its steady pulse. Lyra sobbed, clutching her mother's arm tighter. "It's going to kill her." Daniel forced his voice to stay calm. "Not if I do this right." He pressed again, steady this time. The crystal gave a soft click. The nearest energy rope loosened, just slightly. The woman gasped, relief breaking through her pain. "Yes, that is the way." One by one, Daniel exhaled slowly. He had unlocked one. There were 6 more. The clearing grew colder. A wind swept through the trees, shaking the silver leaves. Daniel's skin prickled. He felt it again, that heavy, watching presence. The hunters. Whoever set this trap was still near. He looked over his shoulder. The trees stood silent, but he saw shadows move between them. "Shapes too large to be animals. They're close," he whispered. The woman's eyes darkened. "They wait for me to weaken, for you to fail. They enjoy watching." Daniel gritted his teeth. "Then we'll give them a show." He turned back to the trap, focusing hard. Another crystal glowed faintly blue. He pressed its base, steady but firm. This time the rope snapped back with a hiss, falling loose like smoke, 2 down. But then a laugh echoed in the trees. Oh, cruel and full of hunger. Lyra gasped and buried her face against her mother. Daniel stood, knife raised, scanning the forest edge. From the shadows, red eyes glowed. 1 pair, then 2, then many. Figures stepped forward, tall and lean, their bodies covered in dark armor made of bone and crystal. They held long spears that pulsed with red energy, the same color as the trap. Their faces were hidden, but their voices were sharp. "Human," one of them growled. "You touch what is not yours," another hissed, pointing his spear at the woman. "She is ours." Her pain is our gift. Daniel stood his ground, though fear burned in his chest. He had freed part of the trap, but not all. He could not fight them and finish the task at the same time. The woman's voice was weak but fierce. Do not stop, human. Free me no matter what they say. Daniel tightened his grip on the knife. His choice was clear. Keep fighting the trap, or turn to face the hunters. Either way, the next moment could be his last. Daniel stood frozen for a heartbeat, knife in hand, the red-eyed hunters staring at him from the tree line. The trap still pulsed around the alien woman's foot, half unlocked but still deadly. Lyra clung to her mother's arm, her glowing eyes wide with fear. The hunters did not rush forward. They waited, tall and silent, their spears glowing with the same red light as the trap. Their patience was worse than an attack. They wanted him to try, to fail, to suffer. The alien woman's voice broke the silence, weak but steady. Do not look at them, human. Look only at the crystals. The trap will answer only to your focus. Daniel swallowed hard. His throat was dry. His heart pounded in his ears. He wanted to fight, to raise his knife against the hunters, but he knew he could not win. Not yet. The only chance was to free her. If he freed her, maybe she could fight them. Maybe they could all survive. He crouched back to the trap. The red light pulsed faster now, sensing danger. Every beat felt like a warning. The next crystal was buried under the moss, small and sharp. Daniel brushed the moss aside, careful not to touch the glowing lines that ran through the soil. His hand trembled, but he pressed the base gently. The crystal resisted, vibrating with a low hiss. Steady, the woman whispered. Not with force. With patience, Daniel pressed again, slower this time, careful, like turning a lock. A faint click answered him. The rope of energy loosened, snapping free with a sigh. 3 down. Lyra gasped with joy. You're doing it. You're saving her. But the hunters laughed. One stepped forward, tapping his spear on the ground. The earth shivered with the sound. His voice was deep, mocking. Do you think you can outsmart us, little human? That trap was made by our masters. It is not for your kind to break. Daniel ignored him, though his skin crawled with fear. He leaned closer to the 4th crystal. It glowed brighter than the rest, pulsing red instead of blue. He hesitated. Not that one, the woman rasped. Her voice was urgent. That is the heart crystal. If you touch it now, it will kill us all. Daniel's stomach dropped. He pulled his hand back quickly. The hunters laughed again, their voices like knives cutting through the dark. Lyra looked at Daniel with shining eyes. You listen to her. You'll find the right one. He nodded, his jaw tight. He scanned the circle of crystals again, searching. His light caught a small shard half buried near the woman's heel, glowing faint blue under the red. That must be it. As he reached for it, the hunters grew restless. One of them raised his spear. Red energy flared at its tip. The woman hissed, her voice sharp despite her pain. They are growing impatient. They want to scare you. Do not give them what they want. Daniel pressed the base of the blue crystal. The ground shook as if alive, but then the rope snapped loose. 4 down. The hunters snarled, their laughter gone. One stepped closer, his red eyes burning. Enough games. If the trap fails, we will strike. Daniel looked up, sweat running down his face. His hands ached from holding the knife so tight. He was close, only 3 left, but the hunters would not wait forever. The 5th crystal was larger than the others, sharp like a fang. Daniel reached for it carefully. The moment his knife touched its base, the trap screamed. A high, terrible sound filled the clearing like metal tearing apart. The red ropes tightened again, cutting deeper into the woman's foot. She cried out, her body twisting with pain. Stop! Lyra screamed, pulling at Daniel's arm. You're hurting her! Daniel's chest burned with panic. He pulled his knife back quickly, his ears ringing from the trap's scream. His hands shook. I almost killed her, he muttered. The woman's breath came fast, but her eyes still burned with fire. Not killed, warned. The trap knows your fear. It feeds on it. You must not let it win. Daniel closed his eyes for a second. He forced his breath to slow. In, out, calm. He could not let them see weakness, not the trap, not the hunters. When he opened his eyes again, his gaze sharpened. He looked past the false crystal, scanning for the faint blue glow. At last he saw it, a tiny shard hidden under a root almost invisible. That one, he whispered to himself. He pressed its base with steady force. The rope dissolved, fading into smoke. 5 down. The hunters growled, anger rising in their voices. Impossible. No human should come this far. Daniel ignored them. Two left. He moved to the next shard, but before he could touch it, a spear flew through the air. It struck the ground beside him, crackling with red fire. The ground split, spraying dirt and glowing moss. Daniel rolled back, knife raised. The hunter stepped forward now, no longer waiting. "You have tested us long enough," one hissed. "We will end this," Lyra screamed, clutching her mother tightly. The woman raised her hand weakly, her eyes glowing brighter. She whispered, "Finish the trap, human. Leave them to me." Daniel's chest tightened. Could she really fight them in this state? Could he finish in time? The hunters raised their spears, red light burning brighter. The trap still pulsed around her foot, 2 ropes remaining. Daniel gritted his teeth. He had no choice. He would have to fight the trap and the hunters at the same time. And he knew in that terrible moment that the real struggle had only just begun. The clearing was no longer silent. The hunters stepped out of the shadows, one by one, their red eyes glowing like fire in the night. Their armor was jagged, black with shards of crystal pressed into it. Each carried a long spear that pulsed with red energy, the same deadly light as the trap. Daniel felt the ground tremble under their steps. He counted them, 6 in total, circling the clearing like wolves around prey. Lyra gasped and pressed against her mother. Her small voice shook. They came back. They came to finish it. The alien woman's breathing was shallow, her face pale, yet her eyes still held fire. "I told you. They wait like vultures. They wanted to see if the human would risk himself. Now they know." One of the hunters stepped forward, taller than the rest. His armor was heavier, his spear longer. His voice was sharp and cruel. "You should not be here, human. This trap is ours. This prey is ours." Daniel gripped his knife tighter. His heart pounded, but he did not step back. "She's not prey," he said. His voice was firm, even though fear burned inside him. "She's a mother, and I'm not leaving her here." The hunters laughed, a sound cold and mocking. Another hunter hissed, his red eyes narrowing. "Do you think you can save her? That trap is older than you, human. Every touch only feeds it. Every second it drinks her strength. Soon there will be nothing left," Lyra cried. "You're lying." But the hunters only laughed louder. Daniel crouched back at the trap. He knew he could not fight 6 armed hunters and finish unlocking the crystals at the same time. He needed time. Just a few more seconds to free the alien woman. The lead hunter seemed to read his thoughts. He raised his spear, pointing it at Daniel. "Enough delay. Step away, human. Watch her die, and maybe we will let you live." Daniel's jaw tightened. He didn't move. The woman whispered through clenched teeth. "Do not stop. Do not fear them. My power is bound now. But once I am free..." Her words faded, but her eyes told him everything. She was not as helpless as she seemed. The hunters stepped closer, closing the circle. Their spears crackled, red sparks dripping like fireflies. Daniel made his choice. He pressed his knife against the next faint blue shard, forcing it down. The crystal shuddered, then snapped. The rope of red energy vanished, 6 down. Only one left. The hunters roared with anger. Their leader shouted, "Kill him!" 2 hunters lunged forward, their spears striking like lightning. Daniel rolled to the side, the crackling tips missing him by inches. The ground split open where they struck, glowing red like lava. Lyra screamed. Her mother lifted her weak arm, a faint glow gathering in her palm. A wave of silver light burst out, striking the 2 hunters back. They stumbled, snarling in rage. Even wounded, even trapped, her power was still dangerous. The leader snarled, his red eyes burning brighter. "She still resists. Then we will take her child instead." Lyra froze, fear flooding her small face. She clung tighter to her mother, trembling. Daniel's chest burned with rage. He leapt between the hunters and the child, knife raised. "You'll touch her over my dead body." The hunters laughed again, circling tighter. "That can be arranged." Daniel glanced back at the trap. Only one rope remained, glowing brighter than the rest. The heart crystal pulsed red, warning him. "One wrong move and everything would end," the alien woman whispered, her voice fierce despite her weakness. "The last crystal is the most dangerous. Do not strike it. You must hold it down and keep it pressed until the rope dies." Daniel nodded, sweat running down his face. He crouched low, knife ready. The hunters stepped closer, their spears raised high. Daniel slammed the blade against the heart crystal's base. The ground screamed, the red light flaring so bright it blinded him. The rope fought back, twisting, trying to pull tighter around her foot. The woman screamed, her body shaking with pain. "Hold it!" she shouted. Do not let go. Daniel pressed harder, his arms burning, the knife vibrating in his grip. The trap hissed, fighting him as if it had its own mind. The hunters saw what he was doing. They roared and charged forward. Daniel held the crystal down with all his strength. He felt the ground tremble under his knees. His knife burned hot in his hand, almost melting. He clenched his teeth and shouted, "Break, damn you!" The heart crystal cracked. A blinding flash exploded across the clearing. The red rope shattered like glass, dissolving into smoke. The alien woman's foot was free. For a heartbeat, silence. Then her silver eyes snapped open. Energy surged through her body like lightning. She rose, weak but burning with power. Her hand lifted, glowing bright. The hunters froze, their red eyes widening. She spoke, her voice no longer weak but thunderous. "You think me prey? You think me broken? You fools." Her hand burst with silver fire, a wave of pure energy exploding out. The hunters screamed as it struck them, their spears shattering, their bodies thrown back into the trees. The clearing shook as they hit the ground, their armor cracking. They writhed, snarling, but none dared step forward again. Daniel fell back, gasping, his arms aching from the struggle. Lyra ran to her mother, hugging her tight. Tears shone in her glowing eyes. "You're free! You're free, Mom." The woman bent down, holding her daughter close. Her eyes turned to Daniel. For the first time, her voice softened. "Human, you risked everything. You freed me when no one else would." Daniel nodded, still catching his breath. "I couldn't leave her." "Not like that." The hunters hissed in the shadows, their voices full of rage. But they did not attack again. They melted back into the trees, their red eyes fading into the dark. The woman stood tall, even with her wounded foot. She looked into the forest, her voice cold. "They will return." This was only their game. But next time, it will be war. Daniel felt the weight of her words. He had not just saved a life. He had stepped into something far larger, and he knew deep down the true enemy had only begun to reveal itself. The clearing smelled of smoke and burned crystal. The red ropes of the trap were gone, scattered like dust in the wind. The hunters had retreated into the dark forest, but their laughter still echoed faintly, promising they would return. Daniel stood with his knife still in hand, his breath heavy, his arms shaking from holding the heart crystal down. He looked at the alien woman. She was free but not unharmed. Her foot bled with glowing silver light, leaving small, shining drops on the moss. Lyra held her tightly, tears of relief streaming down her face. "Mom, you're safe now. He saved you." The woman's silver eyes locked on Daniel. There was power in them again, but also pain. She nodded once, slowly. "Yes, he saved me. A human did what my own kind would not." Daniel swallowed hard. He felt the weight of her words. He had chosen to risk his life for strangers, beings from another world. And yet, when he looked at Lyra's small, trembling hands, he knew he could not have done otherwise. But the danger was not over. The forest was silent now, but too silent. The hunters were not gone. They were waiting, watching, planning their next strike. Daniel knew it. And he knew another truth. He was only a man with a knife. He could not fight a war against hunters armed with crystal spears. He faced the alien woman. "We can't stay here. They'll come back, stronger." Her face was pale, her body weak, but her voice was firm. "I know, and I cannot fight them like this. My strength is broken until my wounds heal." She looked at her foot, at the silver blood dripping slowly. "The trap has poisoned me. It will not be easy to recover." Daniel frowned. His instinct screamed at him, "Run, leave, save yourself." But another thought cut through it. If he left, Lyra would be alone. If her mother fell again, there would be no one to protect the child. He clenched his jaw. He could not abandon them. Lyra looked at him with wide, shining eyes. "Please don't leave us. You're the only one who helped. Everyone else just hides from them." Her words hit him like a blade. Daniel knelt down in front of her, his voice low but steady. "I won't leave you. I promise. But I need you both to trust me." The woman tilted her head. "Trust a human?" Her lips curved into the faintest bitter smile. "That is not a thing my people do." Daniel held her gaze. "Then maybe it's time to start." The forest wind shifted. The silver leaves above rustled as if whispering. Somewhere far off, a deep horn sounded, long and low, a call that made the air vibrate. The hunter's signal. Lyra clutched her mother's hand. "They're calling more." The woman's face hardened. Yes, the hunt will not end until I am taken. Or destroyed. Daniel felt a chill run through him. His mind raced. What was the right choice? He could tell them to run. He could try to guide them through the forest away from the hunters. But the woman's wounded foot slowed her. They would be caught. He could try to fight beside them, but what was a man with a knife against a whole pack of hunters? Or he could do something else. Something mad. He looked at the broken trap. The crystal still hummed faintly, shards glowing with red light. He touched one with his knife. Sparks jumped, stinging his hand. "Daniel," the woman said sharply. "What are you doing?" He stood slowly, making a choice. Her eyes narrowed. A dangerous choice. Daniel turned to her, his face grim. If we run, they catch us. If we fight, we die. But maybe we can use their own weapons against them. He lifted the shard, its red light reflecting in his eyes. They trust these traps, fear them. What if we set one for them instead? The woman studied him, silent for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. Perhaps. You think like a hunter. That may save us. Lyra looked between them, confused but hopeful. You mean trap them? Like they trapped you? Daniel gave her a small, tired smile. Exactly. But it means risk. More risk than before. The woman's voice was low, almost a growl. You already chose risk when you touched that crystal. Do not pretend you are afraid now. He felt the truth in her words. He had already stepped too far into this. His choice was no longer about survival. It was about who he was. Would he stand with them? Or walk away? Daniel tightened his grip on the shard. Then it's decided. We turn the hunter's game against them. The woman looked at him with something almost like respect. Perhaps humans are not as weak as I thought. The forest horn sounded again, closer this time. The ground trembled under the hunter's march. Lyra squeezed her mother's hand and whispered, We'll be ready for them. Right, Mom? Her mother's silver eyes glowed faintly. Yes, child. We will not run this time. We will fight with the human. Daniel looked into the dark trees, the red eyes starting to appear again in the distance. His chest was tight with fear, but his mind was set. This was his choice. And soon, the hunters would learn what it meant to corner a human who refused to bow. The horn sounded again, louder now, shaking the silver leaves above. Red eyes flickered in the forest, dozens of them, moving closer with every heartbeat. The hunters were returning. Not 6 this time, but many more. Daniel's grip tightened around the glowing shard he had taken from the trap. It burned hot in his hand, humming with dark energy. He could feel its danger, but also its power. The alien woman leaned against a tree, her wounded foot leaving a trail of silver blood. She looked pale, but her eyes glowed with fire. Lyra stood at her side, clutching her arm, her small body trembling. They are coming, the woman said quietly. And they will not stop. Daniel nodded, scanning the clearing. He saw the broken trap, the crystals still alive with faint light scattered like pieces of a deadly puzzle. An idea sparked in his mind. We can't fight them all, he said, voice low. But we can slow them down. Enough to escape. The woman tilted her head, studying him. Escape? You still believe there is safety beyond this forest? Daniel met her gaze. I believe in moving. If we stay, we die. If we run, we live another day. That's all that matters now. She considered his words, then gave a short nod. Very well. But the hunters are not fools. They know every path. Then we don't take the path, Daniel said. His eyes swept over the broken trap again. We make our own. He crouched, gathering shards of crystal, pressing them into the soil with careful hands. He worked quickly, copying what he had seen in the trap before. Circles, roots of light, pulsing patterns. The shards hummed as if alive, forming a faint red glow in the dirt. The woman watched him, her expression unreadable. You have never built one of these before, yet you try. Daniel gave a tight smile. First time for everything. Lyra stepped closer, her silver eyes wide. Will it work? Daniel's chest tightened. He didn't know, but he forced his voice steady. It has to. The red eyes grew brighter. Figures moved between the trees, hunters, dozens of them, their spears glowing. Their laughter drifted through the night, sharp and cruel. They surround us, the woman said. Daniel finished pressing the last shard into the soil. The ground pulsed red, the glow spreading like veins. He stood, knife in one hand, shard in the other. His body shook with exhaustion, but his eyes were sharp. They want to hunt us? He said, his voice low and fierce. Then let's give them a surprise. The first hunters stepped into the clearing. Their armor gleamed jagged and cruel. Their leader raised his spear, pointing it at the woman. "This ends now," he growled. "The prey will bow. The child will be taken. And the human will be broken." Daniel raised the shard high, its red light burning in his hand. "Come and try." The hunters roared and charged forward. Daniel slammed the shard into the ground. The broken trap flared to life, the shards glowing bright. Red energy erupted from the soil, twisting upward like living fire. It struck the first hunters, wrapping around their bodies, pulling them to the ground. They screamed as the ropes of energy tightened, binding them. The others froze in shock. Their leader snarled, his red eyes burning hotter. "Impossible. A human cannot command the trap." Daniel didn't wait. He turned to the woman. "Now move!" She leaned on Lyra, her steps slow but steady. Daniel ran beside them, guiding them through the trees. Behind them, the hunters howled in rage, struggling against the trap, but not all were caught. From the shadows, more hunters appeared, their spears crackling with fire. They blocked the path ahead, their eyes glowing. Lyra gasped. "They're everywhere." Daniel's heart raced. He raised his knife, ready to fight, but the woman stepped forward. Her silver eyes blazed. She lifted her hand and light burst from her palm. A wave of silver energy shot through the trees, blinding the hunters. They staggered back, covering their eyes. The path opened. "Go!" she cried. They ran. The forest whipped around them, branches tearing at their clothes, roots catching their feet. Daniel's lungs burned, but he didn't stop. He could hear the hunters behind them, their angry shouts, their spears crashing against the trees. Lyra stumbled once, but Daniel grabbed her hand, pulling her up. "Keep moving." The woman limped, her face pale with pain, but her will was unbroken. Every few steps she turned, sending bursts of silver light to push the hunters back. Still, they were closing in. At last, the forest thinned. Daniel saw a slope ahead, the ground dropping into a deep ravine. At the bottom, a stream of glowing water ran, silver and bright. "That way," he shouted. They slid down the slope, dirt and moss crumbling under their feet. Daniel hit the ground hard, rolling before pulling himself up. Lyra and her mother landed beside him. The hunters reached the edge above, their red eyes blazing. Spears lifted, aimed down at them. Daniel's chest heaved. He looked at the stream. The water glowed like light-made liquid, its surface shifting strangely. It didn't look safe, but it looked like the only chance. He turned to the woman. "Can we cross it?" Her silver eyes locked on the water. For the first time, true fear flickered in them. "That is no stream. That is a living river. It will not welcome us." The hunters roared above, preparing to throw their spears. Daniel made his choice. Better the river than them. He grabbed Lyra's hand and leapt into the glowing water. The river swallowed him whole, cold and bright, pulling him into its rushing current. Lyra splashed in beside him, crying out. A heartbeat later, her mother followed, her silver glow vanishing under the water. The last thing Daniel saw before the river dragged him away was the hunters standing on the edge, furious, their red eyes burning. And then the world became water and light, and escape had truly begun. The river pulled them hard, its glowing waters rushing like liquid light. Daniel fought to keep his head above the surface, but the current spun him in circles, dragging him down into the silver glow. He couldn't see where the river began or where it ended. It was alive, wild, as if it had its own will. Beside him, Lyra clung to his arm, coughing and crying. Her small hands dug into his sleeve, terrified of being swept away. Ahead of them, her mother drifted weakly, her glowing body flickering in the strange current. Daniel kicked hard, fighting the pull. His lungs burned, his muscles screamed, but after what felt like forever, the river spat them out into a wide pool. He coughed and gasped, dragging Lyra to the rocky shore. The alien woman floated behind them, and Daniel pulled her out too, laying her on the glowing stones. The pool was surrounded by jagged cliffs. Above, the night sky was gone, replaced by a ceiling of shifting silver light. They were no longer in the forest. The river had carried them into another place, a hidden world beneath the ground. Daniel stared around in shock. The walls glowed with patterns like veins moving slowly as if the stone itself was alive. Strange whispers echoed, though no mouth spoke. Lyra shivered and pressed close to her mother. "Where are we?" The woman opened her eyes slowly, her voice weak but filled with awe. "The river of memory. It chose to let us live," Daniel frowned. "What do you mean, chose?" She looked at him, her silver eyes glowing faintly. "This river is no water. It is alive. It sees the truth in those who fall into it. If we were liars, cowards, or cruel, it would have drowned us." Daniel felt his chest tighten. So the river had judged him too and spared him. Before he could speak, the whispers in the walls grew louder. The glowing patterns shifted, forming shapes, faces, thousands of them, faint and ghostly. They looked like echoes of people long gone, watching in silence. Lyra gasped, pointing with a trembling hand. "Spirits." The woman shook her head. "Not spirits, memories. This place holds the voices of my people, and many others." She paused, her eyes narrowing. "Even humans," Daniel blinked. "Humans? Here, how?" Her gaze sharpened. "Because your kind has been here before, long ago. You are not the first human to step into this world." The words hit him like a blow. His mind raced. Other humans? On this planet, when? Before he could ask, the walls shifted again. One of the glowing faces grew brighter, clearer. It was not alien. It was human. Daniel froze. The face was sharp and stern, a man with eyes like steel. His voice echoed from the stone, deep and cold. "We gave them fire. We gave them tools. But they turned on us. Do not trust them. They are predators wearing the skin of allies." The voice faded, but the warning hung heavy in the air. Daniel's heart pounded. He looked at the alien woman, but she said nothing. Her jaw was tight, her eyes dark. "What was that?" Daniel asked, his voice low. She answered slowly. "It was truth. Your kind came to us long ago. Some of my people remember. They call you heroes. Others call you destroyers." Daniel shook his head. "That's impossible. Humans don't even know this place exists." Her eyes pierced him. "Are you sure? Or is it that your people have forgotten what they once did?" The whispers rose again, overlapping, filling the cavern with voices. Some spoke of humans as saviors, others as monsters. The sound pressed against Daniel's skull, making his head ache. Lyra covered her ears and cried, "Make them stop!" The woman raised her hand, glowing faintly. The whispers dimmed, fading back into silence. The cavern grew still again, though the faces still watched. She looked at Daniel, her expression unreadable. "Now you see why they hunt me. I know these truths. The hunters fear what I carry in my blood, the memory of what humans did. If I live, I may reveal it. If I die, the memory fades." Daniel's throat felt dry. He wanted to deny it, to call it lies. But deep inside he knew. The face in the wall had been human. The warning had been real. He looked at Lyra, then back at her mother. "So what happens now? Do we run forever? Do we fight them until they kill us?" The woman's silver eyes softened just slightly. "No, human. Now, we choose. Do we carry this memory together, or do we let it die here?" Daniel clenched his fists. He thought of Earth, of the people who had no idea what secrets this world held. He thought of the hunters, their cruel laughter, their endless chase. And he thought of Lyra's small hand clutching his, begging him not to leave. His voice was firm when he spoke. "We carry it, together. If the hunters want to silence the truth, then the truth is exactly what we must protect." The woman studied him for a long time. Then slowly she nodded. "Very well. Then you are no longer just a human. You are part of our fight." Lyra smiled weakly, her eyes shining with hope. She whispered, "We're not alone anymore." The cavern lights dimmed, the river's glow fading. The faces sank back into the walls, their whispers gone. But Daniel felt their weight in his chest. They had escaped the hunters for now. But they had stepped into something far larger. Secrets older than both their kinds. A war that had not yet begun. And as Daniel looked into the silver eyes of the alien mother, he realized something else. This was only the beginning.